you're brand new in business or a seasoned business pro, you know that magical feeling that comes with the start of a new year or even just the start of a new quarter. But squeezing all the juice out of that magical moment really comes if you pause and you first look at the game tape to see what you did and what you could have done differently and what you learned along the way. That's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. I am going to unpack for you 5 things I'm doing completely differently for the year 2023 and 3 things that I learned last year. Also, I got a new office chair, my first real office chair. I feel like that needs its own moment. If we've not yet met, hello, my name is Ashlyn Carter. I'm a conversion copywriter and brand and launch strategist for creatives like you. And typically here, I'm talking about copywriting because not knowing what to say should not be the thing that's holding you back from making sales. I talked about it in my recap video last year, but getting to have a small business is the biggest, best honor. I adore it. It's the hardest psychological experiment I would willingly conduct on myself all over again if given the opportunity. It's such a blessing to be able to have a job, do what I love, work in this capitalist economy and create jobs for people when I'm able to serve people with what I feel like I've been gifted to do. It is freaking awesome and I love it. It's also extremely hard. It is a constant mind game. And over the years, I've learned to have to block out a good few days to do like annual forecasting and vision setting and even see what just happened. I used to could get this done in about 3 days. Maybe I'm slow. It takes me about 3 weeks now. But here's what happened last year. These were the 3 biggest deals. If I were going to tell you my biggest wins from last year, number 1, I hired 2 new full-time employees, 1 new part-time employee, and we completely restructured the team organization. Someone thought it would be a great idea to build a business for 6.5 years, being the only full-time employee. I don't know how that happened, it just did. So fast forward to February-ish of this year, I learned that I would be losing my integrator, Rachel. She'd been my college roommate and had come on as my integrator and is now a stay-at-home school mama of 3. When I realized I needed to replace Rachel, I also kind of had a come to Jesus moment where I thought, okay, if I'm going to hire now, I need to do it the right way and I need to fill positions more strategically based on the org chart that I can kind of see developing out now in my mind. I have a lot of thoughts on hiring. Comment below if it would ever be helpful for me to talk about that more. But who came onto my team was my first executive assistant, that's Claire, the first director of marketing, that's Meg, and a new copywriter for the agency side of things, that's Rebecca. This took so much time, so much time. So the process started in April. I'm pretty sure only around the end of the year did I start to feel like things were starting to get settled. I invested in 2 big things. One, it was called the Rainmaker Residency, totally worth looking up. This is a leadership training program for me to figure out how to work alongside a director of marketing. A lot of us who are entrepreneurs were also like a number 1 marketer in our business too, and so it becomes really hard to both be the visionary and the head marketer. That was what was hardest for me. I could not be both the visionary and the creator and the marketer. Not only did I invest in that, but I invested in an HR team. So we have policies now. We've never had like a company handbook or even a time off policy. I just used to tell people, just get the job done. It doesn't work when you have more employees. So I learned a lot last year. My number 2 big win, we built an email server. Yay! And I won't lie, this was a long, hard process too. I've talked about in previous videos why we built an email server, TLDR. We got up to a number of subscribers where I wanted to be a little bit more in control of our IP. I've also thought about doing a video called We Built an Email Server and This Is How It Went. Comment below if you'd be interested in learning about this stuff. It's super nerdy, but I've got 2 takeaways here. Number 1, just because you send more emails does not mean your open rate will go down. Ours went way up. I went from being a business that sent out 1 weekly email to now we have to pretty much send 2 within the span of 7 days to keep our server hot. Our email open rates have increased as a result of being on a new server, but they've also increased because we have set these cadences of emails that people can expect. Around Tuesday, my Tuesday teardown drops, and that is a long email, just chock full. I want it to be, I call it a copy dossier of top marketing tips that are curated for creative entrepreneurs, copy hack, all that kind of stuff. Then around Thursday, I have the Thursday dog year. I talk about in the episode, it's a little bit lighter, more lifestyle-y. I'm talking about what I'm reading, what I'm enjoying, what's making me laugh. We set those parameters last year. So for whomever needed me to say this, know that the people that want to hear from you, and they're gonna be okay with you sending more emails as long as it is super valuable content. Another thing I learned here, how important my writing muscles are. The cadence of having to send out 2 emails every week kept my writing chops up. I wrote Gosh, I would love to know how many more words I wrote in 2022 than 2021. It refined my writing prowess. I became more prolific. My third big win, our homepage homecoming event. I did a recap video where I talked about our big annual launch that we do every year of copywriting for creatives and why I chose to do a different hype piece, I call it. I chose to lead with a challenge this time instead of a webinar for no reason other than it was time to change it up. Offers have offer fatigue. And so I challenged myself to figure out what is a way that we can kind of disrupt the market and the messages that are out there. And so we did this whole cheeky, super fun campaign. I called it Homepage Homecoming. It was a blast and it also had great conversion rates. Okay, those are my 3 big wins. What are the 5 things I'm doing differently for 2023? Number 1, there's not a Laura Vanderkam book I don't like, and this one was no exception. It came out recently. In there, she gives the tip, plan on Fridays. I, for years, have been a plan on Sundays girl. I've talked about it being one of my weekly rhythms inside my Art of Efficiency course. Okay, so I have a program called the Art of Efficiency, and I love it. I first developed it, though, before I had kids. LOL, pats on head. I've completely pulled that curriculum down to the studs, as I tend to do. To rebuild it, click below if you want to get on the wait list or find out more info. But I did that because a lot of the systems that I had in place, I have had to learn to be nimble and adjust through these years of having kids. And not just me having kids, but I realized today I have had a conversation 5 times in my business now, the conversation of, hey, Ashlyn, love working for you. I'm pregnant. I am gonna be out. 5 times. I feel like I could write a book on it at this point. So in the Art of Efficiency, my old way of doing things was always to have a Sunday planning session. But over the years, now having kids and trying to get our family ready to move into Monday well, lunch is ready, quality time with everybody. That did not make for enjoyable Sunday night planning times. So I'm now doing that on Friday afternoons. I've done it for about 4 weeks now. I love it. I'm going to keep rolling. This is also the time where I lock my calendar. So Claire, my executive assistant, on Fridays, end of day, boom, calendar is locked for next week. We're not changing it. We're not adding to it. I'm also looking at the next week ahead. This has also been helpful as our family's grown because I can then have moments of, oh my gosh, the kids don't have school on this day. Either I need a babysitter or I need to plan something for us to do. It's great. So Friday afternoons, my new routine is to get a fun beverage from the kitchen, make a matcha latte, cup of tea, something fun, sit down and spend 20 to 30 minutes planning the next week. The second thing I'm doing differently, I'm committing to being less precious about social media / getting on more regularly and consistently. I love building a business where I don't have to be on social media the whole time and can have a very profitable and enjoyable digital business. And I'm first to admit I was not consistent last year / barely posted. I tend to do this for 2 reasons. One is a good reason, one is a bad reason. The first one, I have a really hard time siloing my brain into builder mode and creator mode and marketer mode. So when I do have an opportunity, I'm not building curriculum or building a team, and I have a little bit more creative space in my brain, I enjoy being on social media then. When all my creative output is focused on building, like truly building something, I have not been able to figure out how to do both. Some people are really good too about documenting the process along the way, even when it's messy, and this is what brings me to my second point. The second reason sometimes I don't show up online that's not as noble as my first answer is because I freak out about opening the doors to my virtual house when like the inside isn't clean. I don't want to invite people in or bring new people into my little ecosystem when I feel like things are not already on the back end, and I think that holds me back. I was joking earlier to Meg that I feel like the internet's trajectory to being totally cool and comfortable with like a less precious, less pristine, unpolished version of social media has incrementally grown at the exact same like speed and time that my business has grown. And so as I've had, I guess, more eyes on my business and more people watching, I feel more pressure for things to be perfect and pristine. At the same time, the internet doesn't really want that anymore. So it's led to this dichotomy of my mind where I'm like, well, what do I post? What is this for? What am I supposed to do? And that's one of my commitments for this year. I can't even believe I'm saying this. I'm just going to try to be more consistent and simply do it scared. Post when I'm scared, post when it's not perfect. So stay tuned. We'll see how that goes. Change number 3, I'm making and committing to doing differently. I'm going to sit more in the CRO chair, the Chief Relationship Officer chair. Last year marked an entire 12-month span where I didn't have a maternity leave at all, and I saw how important relationship is. I was telling one of our students this last week, grassroots marketing is still one of the ways that we absolutely get loads of customers and clients. So this year I'm going to focus more strategically on relationships. I've talked about this in the Art of Efficiency and some other things, but I used to have a rhythm. I called it R&B, relationship building time. Shout out to Glenn Jackson at Jackson Spalding for that. That was not me. So this is focused time on the calendar where I'm just checking in on relationships and loving on people. Showing up, saying hey, seeing what they're up to. Yes, I have to calendar that. If you're thinking it sounds really type A to calendar something like that, probably is, but I just get swept up in other things otherwise. I also don't tend to worry about this kind of thing when I have a new baby. So I'm gonna get back into that habit. Number 4 thing I'm doing differently is changing up my energy. Last year, I pretty much had an energy crisis. I could not figure out how to go any day without a nap. I was having a major slump in the afternoon. I've made some lifestyle changes and have studied a lot on what I can do differently and how I can get back on being a 5 a.m. club member again. I personally loved it because that was my quality time for years that I had to pray and read and think. And I've not been on that train for a couple of years now, so I want it back. And the number 5 thing I'm doing differently this year, instead of worrying so much about a big 3, I'm gonna have a big 2. This comes from the book, The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker. It's kind of a classic, but in there he talks about asking yourself as the owner every day, what 2 essential things must I get done today for the enterprise? Just 2, I loved that. So what I'm gonna do this year in my full focus planner is commit to having my big 2 in those first 2 slots, and I'm gonna let the third one typically be more of a home thing. What big thing needs to get done for my home today? I'll keep you posted on how this is going, but I'm gonna try it. 3 was really a push to get done anyway. With my big 2, that means that I need to have 2 deep work sessions. That's all. And a deep work session to me is 2 hours max. Okay, so here we go. 2022 was an incredible ride. I'm excited to see what happens in 2023. Taking stock of where I've been and spending time in all the planners and the tools and the systems that I use, because it genuinely takes me about 3 weeks to unravel in my brain what just happened. It's such a nostalgic and a valuable tool. If you liked this video and want some more inspo, it doesn't have to stop here. Click this next video that I've got teed up for you. You can hear from 4 other business owners, all good friends of mine, about what they're doing differently for 2023 as well. Don't forget to look down below and grab your seat on the wait list for the Art of Efficiency. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.